everyone. I think everyone is there. And then we have Brian. So Brian Collins, who is our guest today. So he is the head of paid media at Ogilvy. Brian and I go back a long way. When I had my property business, I think Brian was moving to London. Was it 10 years ago or more?
Yeah.
And then Brian did an internship with me. He was doing, I think, the podcast, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So clearly, his passion remained in communications, and then he went on to working in social media, and that's what he does now. So head of Ogilvy, and he's doing some work for us on our Facebook as well. So he's doing fantastic work. So I will now mute myself for the first time ever in one of my webinars. You're not going to hear me anymore. And I will leave Brian to take over. So if you want to share your screen and obviously do a little bit intro about yourself. And you have about 30 minutes, because I think people want to ask questions. If you guys want to write your questions in the chat while he's speaking, so he will address your questions later on. Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Cool. Can you guys see a big red screen just saying Paid Social Media 101?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, just a quick intro of me. That's me taken quite a few years ago, where I had cheekbones and a lot less grey hair. But as Raphael said, I'm head of paid media for Ogilvy, where I kind of get to work with some of the biggest brands in the world, which is really fun, like Barbie, Fisher-Price, Colgate, Nokia, and European Parliament are probably my biggest ones. We kind of work across B2C and B2B, and it's really enjoyable, and spending other people's money is a big passion of mine. But with all that, you can kind of only make only a little bit of change in that, because if I've got an idea for Barbie, I'm quite far down the marketing food chain for me to kind of make the differences that can really affect quicker change and stuff like that. So with that, me and a few friends have actually set up something called YDNA, which ironically, I know I work for an agency, but it's kind of based on you don't need an agency, where we just it's just really fun to work with smaller budgets and kind of affecting change really quickly. And two of the kind of clients that we've worked for is a cosmetic surgeon in Ireland, where we were able to, when COVID hit, they needed obviously to close all their stores, but we whipped up an e-commerce platform for them, and we were able to move their online revenue from 1,500 a month to 9,500 a month. And then in classic entrepreneurial style, when I told the client that, instead of being really happy, they were like, okay, how do we get to 20 grand a month? So that's kind of what we're looking at the moment. And then a really fun one was a gift shop that had the same issue as well, where we took a joke shop online, and we were able to generate, it's an American joke shop, and we were able to generate 8,500 in revenue within the first 25 days. So while I work with all really big brands and stuff like that, also work with a lot of smaller stuff with some really good friends of mine. Like one of my friends who works on it is ex-Facebook, and then another one is ex-Omnicom for e-com and stuff like that. So so it's just, if anyone wants to have a chat with me afterwards, there could be some solutions that we can do. At a top level, this is just kind of stuff that we do. I won't really labor onto it, because I've got more interesting and important things to talk to you about, such as paid social media. So first things first, as I begin the presentation, is you are in a safe space. So there's no such thing as stupid questions. If you're embarrassed to ask any questions, I'll leave my email. I'm really, really passionate about all this, and I think a lot of agencies and a lot of people who you'll speak to will want to make this sound really, really difficult and really, really convoluted. Maybe it's being Irish, but I don't believe in anything is too complicated. And yeah, any question is worth asking, basically. The only two questions you cannot ask me, being Irish, is do you want another pint, and is Ireland a part of the UK? Cool. So paid and organic. So the key thing, so I work in paid media, which is very much performance media as well. So the difference between paid and organic is reach, essentially. So organic isn't what it used to be. So when all the social media platforms began, you could post organically without putting any spend into any of the social media platforms, and you would get a decent amount of reach. Now, what I always say, if you are able to make social media or digital platforms work and you're able to make loads of money without paying any of the social media platforms, do that. It's not a great business model for social media. So all the platforms really turned into pay to play. For you to really achieve anything on it, you've got to give Mr. Zuckerberg, unfortunately, some money. So in order to play, you got to strip it right back. So you need the right tactics. So before any campaign, you need to think very clearly about what you want. So you go, what are my objectives? Who are my audience? How am I going to track them? And then measurement. So what does success look like, you know? So I always like working backwards, being like, right, what does the client need? And then I'll work backwards, being like, well, then how do I track it? Who my audience and what kind of objectives do we need to achieve? So if we're to look at the objective, key thing, don't overcomplicate it. One objective, that's all you need per stage. So for example, focus on your business needs first, okay? So in the awareness, if you just want brand awareness, I just want a load of people to know about what I'm doing, then we're gonna focus on that business need. If you want traffic to the website for people to learn more about your business, then that kind of falls into the consideration bucket. And then conversion is I want to sell this product or get signups. You can go straight for selling products or getting signups, but the nature of the beast is if you do a full funnel, brand awareness, traffic into signups, it will work slightly better, but can be sometimes more expensive. So then how does this translate into social? So if you want awareness, let's look at video views and reach. So when you're buying at the back end, which I'll show you later on, focus on that. Consideration is click-through rate and landing page views. These are the key metrics that we need to look at. So if we want people to click on our website to learn more, we don't need to focus on video views. We look at click-through rate, landing page views. And then conversion is return on ad spend or email capture. So if we spend so I'm running a campaign at the moment where we've got 3.5% return on ad spend, which basically is every time the client spends £1, they make £3.50. Their goal and target is 2.75. So we're above that. So we also just know how to measure ourselves. So a key thing is to think about what is most important to your business and then build it backwards for that. Audience. Who is your audience and where do we find them? Very key thing as well that you need to think about. There's many different platforms and they each have a different mindset as well. So Facebook is a brand builder. Instagram is a storyteller. LinkedIn is a thought leader. And Twitter is a news hub. So you kind of need to think about where your brand fits into that. It's something that if you have a social media agency, or I'm happy to answer any questions, I can assist with you because there's different ways of looking at it. Like, for example, I ran a B2B campaign for Raphael, which I'll talk about at the end. We actually did it on Facebook because Facebook is actually cheaper. And once the targeting works, it can be very effective. LinkedIn for B2B is always going to be your most effective, but it's not very expensive. It's just more expensive than Facebook. And there's loads more platforms, by the way, that all do different kind of things. So the key thing is to be clever and be audience first. Don't try and jam what you think you should do. Think about where your audience live, and then crucially, what is their kind of mindset when they're on the platform. So what me and my team always do is we take an audience first approach, how we base budgets, how we based everything off it. We'll look at the different targeting that is available on each platform and then build a campaign about that. Because if I want to reach healthcare professionals, I'm not going to do it on TikTok because I can't find the audience there. You can find it on Facebook and LinkedIn because of the targeting. So, which moves on to the targeting options. So these are just some of the examples of targeting that you can do for each platform as well. So generally when I get a brief, I'll be given a budget and an audience they want to reach. And then it's up to me and my team to have a look at, right, which platform has the best audience and the most cost efficient for us to target it. So if I'm to use an example, I want to target Roberta, a mother with a 5-year-old living in the UK. So if we have a look at our targeting audience here, I can, starting from the left, I can target by gender, location. We can target interest, what people like, what people follow, what people connect with. So we can follow brands that parents with 5-year-olds will have. We can also have a behavior. So there's a parent with a 3 to 5-year-old targeting. So that's kind of how you can build it from there. And then we can also look at a lookalike audience, which is similarities. So generally, anytime I mention lookalike audience, next question is, what's a lookalike audience? So lookalike audience, particularly for Facebook, is their most powerful tool, and it's really quite incredible. Some people think it's scary, but as a performance marketer, I love it. So if I'm to explain how it actually works. So if we look at the entire population of Instagram and Facebook here, we have our target market that we want to target here in the red. A lookalike audience then is our core target audience with similar data sets to it. So the platform will match users based on key features. So Facebook knows what we do, what we think, how we interact, and will be able to match us up with little other data sets of who our core target audience is. So how do we know if it's working? Tracking is everything. And for Facebook and any social media platform, key to tracking is the pixel. Now, anytime I mention the pixel, I have what on earth is the pixel. So pixel really simply is, it's a piece of code that you can get from the social media websites, can be added to your website, and then we can track it, what people do on the website. And why it's so important is it allows measurement, so we can measure the activity that happens on the website. Because again, I can get you 10,000 clicks tomorrow to your website, but they'll all be from Pakistan and they won't buy anything. So it actually allows us to measure actual quality of traffic going forward to see if we get, if audience A goes to the website and doesn't purchase or sign up, audience B will. And it allows us to kind of track that difference to understand where our quality audiences are. And then crucially, it's for re-engagement. So I can retarget you if you go to the website. So a typical user journey looks like this. For B2C, I've got a B2B one later I can show you. So you'll see a video on Instagram and Facebook, like so. You're then served a follow-up ad with more specific. So ad one might be more of an introduction to the brand, a hero video, something more aspirational. Then you're served a follow-up ad where it's very product specific, maybe a deal or something like that, just to further nurture you down the funnel. The user then visits the website to kind of check out. We've got our pixel installed, so we can measure what happens on the website. And then we can be if they don't purchase then, they can be served another ad saying buy now. So you can see we're bringing the user on the journey with us through different storytelling techniques. Okay, still with me. Everyone take a glass of water. I'm Irish, so I'm very aware. I speak very quickly, but it's a big presentation. Again, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions afterwards. Or if we run out of time, which I usually do, you can. I'll get Raphael to pass around my details. Cool. Measurement. Okay. So this bit can get a bit heavy, but I think it's kind of key to understand how measurement works and how machine learning works. Okay. So Facebook, and I'll focus on Facebook and Instagram here. So Facebook and Instagram puts us in little buckets based on our user behavior. So we might all think we're all individual and we've got all these special little nuances. We don't. We do all the same things, and Facebook puts us in little buckets for allow us to be optimized per business need. Okay. So if we consider this behavioral pattern, then we focus on your business needs. Then you focus on what your how to actually measure it. That's it. That's literally all you need to do. You need to think, because Facebook will find people who are most likely to purchase on your website, most likely to sign up, most likely to click through, most likely to look at your videos. Because of the little bucket system, if we will. Cool. So I want engagement, likes, and shares. This is a question that I get all the time, and I have the same answer every single time. No, you don't. But the key thing to focus on the engagement myth that occurs across social media. When social media first began and I started annoying Raphael trying to get a job, engagement was very important because we didn't know how to measure. And crucially, Facebook, Instagram, and all the other social media platforms didn't have the data and the strong algorithm to push us into buckets. So engagement was a big metric that we focused on. There's been countless tests run. This is actually something I got from the Facebook website, so it's not even an independent report. The engagement metric, likes or shares or comments, have no correlation with ad recall, brand awareness, or purchase intent. And crucially, the engagement rates often reflect the behaviors of the person rather than the content itself. So to use an example, my mother will like and share comments and videos of golden retrievers all day long. But because she falls into the engagement bucket, if we set up a campaign for engagement, she'll be served the ad based on her loving golden retrievers as opposed to ever having any interest in downloading your app. Cool? So the question then you always get is, why don't they get rid of engagement? Well, they are. So Instagram are getting rid of it, and I'm even reading articles about Facebook getting rid of it. It's a gateway drug. It's instant gratification to show momentum, basically. So if you think about it, if for you to boost a post on Facebook is really, really easy. For you to set up a campaign in the back end is considerably more difficult, by no means impossible, but it's like a gateway drug for you to put money into Facebook, and you see likes and shares and stuff like that. So you go, oh, it's working. This is amazing. But ultimately, that's all it is. It's a gateway drug. And, you know, Instagram and Facebook will claim that it's for mental health, but in reality, it's to do with this. It doesn't match any correlation, and it's basically a waste of money. So then people say, I don't want engagement. Very good. Okay, one more thing. I wanted to, remember wanting to target Roberta with a 5-year-old living in the UK, which we kind of showed how to do it. Targeting is actually changing in 2020, which is getting more interesting. So basically, Facebook are getting in lots of trouble and have been getting in lots of trouble for targeting options, which is meaning that our audience targeting is shrinking. So for example, this is something I set up for Barbie. You can see Barbie UK, mums with children 2 to 8. In 2018, I could almost target 1 million people. In November 2019, that audience has gone down. Now you might say, oh, people aren't using Facebook anymore, but they're actually using it and using it more. And the key older market are using it more. So it means that when we want to set up hyper-targeted targeting in the back end of Facebook, it's actually not, the audience just isn't there anymore, but we know they're still using the platform. So what do? We go broad, okay? So you type in, you go very broad. So you type in, let's say, female between the age of 25 to 45 with maybe an interest in Barbie. That's it. Keep it very broad, because then once we go live, our algorithm, and if we remember our boxes of data pools, will then match us up as we go. So then we go broad targeting, then we find our key target audience. So we can define this key target audience by people who have watched the videos, have gone to the website or bought products. And then we can build lookalike audiences off the back of them. Now, after that bit, I'm aware it's heavy lifting, and then everyone usually feels a bit like this. Makes no sense. Surely targeted will always win, because the whole aspect people think about Facebook and Instagram is, how do you have so much data and going broad is the best approach? It makes no sense. Well, I had this test with everybody, and we made some tests to prove it. So we sent Barbie to space, and we tested highly hyper-targeted audiences with broad audience. So we targeted mothers with kids 2 to 8 in each region, and then we also targeted then another group women 25 to 45. It's a Mattel thing, by the way. They don't want us to target. It's very female, not dad focused. This isn't it's not me calling the shots there. But we were able to get double the amount of views in our broad targets for quarter of the price. So the quality, not only were we able to reach more people, but the quality was way better and it was way, way cheaper. Cool. So I'm going to now run through, because this will only take about 5 minutes, so I can have some questions at the end. I'm now going to run through kind of very top level, but given everything that we've done so far, from beginning to end of how a campaign comes in. Right. So client comes in, focus on their needs. Generally at small business level, they'll probably only focus on conversion, and that's fine. So let's just say I want to get signups, which is exactly what Raphael WhatsApped me. Then I go, right, well then what do I need to focus on at the back end? Email capture. So in the back end of Facebook, there is a email capture campaign that you can set up. So as I said, let's work backwards. So this was the landing page that Raphael and his team built by downloading an ebook for healthcare professionals. Okay, this is where I'm driving the traffic. This is our conversion. So when they sign up, it says your book is here. You can download it. I can then take the URL of the thank you page and put that into Facebook. So then I tell Facebook, anytime any of our audience does this, it's a conversion. So then it'll optimize towards that. It will then look for people who do that also. Cool. So now let me show you, have a look at in Facebook. Cool. So in the back end in Ads Manager, there's a little green button there that says create. It'll then bring you here, which is then pick our objective. So as before, when we were thinking about our business needs and how that translates into social, we can then look at this and you can see the different elements of it. There is lead generation there, but that's for lead generation form on Facebook, which is another thing. But for email signups, focus on conversion. And then we set up your campaign name, your auction type, and a campaign objective is conversions. A really crucial thing for you to look at and to play around with is campaign budget optimization. Facebook can actually do the optimization for you. So you put in your total spend and then Facebook will then optimize it for you. Really, really helpful tip for people who have other things to do but to be optimizing. But even sometimes I use campaign budget optimization as well because it's really stronger. So then you pick your audiences. So for the healthcare campaign, this is the thing. I then set up different audiences. So I looked for psychologists, pharmacists, physiotherapists, physicians, surgeons, nutritionists, blah, blah, blah. So broke that down, break it into 8 to 10 audiences. The campaign budget optimization will do the optimization for you. So you can see here, and why to break it up is because some audiences are going to be cheaper and perform better than others. Like you can see psychologists did really well as they got 16 and our cost per lead was 288. The physician got more leads, but it's actually more expensive. So you can kind of you just have a look at your CPL and your CPA there. Then you turn off ads that do not work. All you do is just flick a switch. That means that your budget then gets pushed back in towards your winning audience sets. And all you need to do with campaign budget optimization is turn off audiences that won't work. Facebook will also will stop optimizing it for you, but it'll happen quicker and more effectively if you turn off the audiences. Crucially, to pick your creative with variations rather. So we have 4 different variations here. This allows it with different copy and images and stuff. It allows us to test what works better, because let's say if I show you all one image and you don't like it, then if I show you one image and 50% of you like it, my results will stagnate. But if I show you 4 images, different people will resonate and like different images and will click through. So you're giving yourself more opportunity to kind of succeed. And then you analyze the results from there. So you say, right, we've got the psychologist, we got this many, we got this. So issue is, do we want to get, if we know physicians, which are our most expensive lead, are more likely to convert, then they actually become, while they're most expensive, they become our most valuable. So when me and Raphael go through all these stats at the end, we'll understand what is our most valuable lead to get and who has a longer life cycle. And there you go. There. I hope that was somewhat legible.
Brilliant. Very good, Brian. Thank you. So it's I learned a little bit more. So I can see Brian rolling out. Let's see the questions. Let's see if we have any questions there on annoyingly. I left my WhatsApp several times and it keeps coming back. So apologies for the noise that is in the background. Right. So let's see if we have, so rolling out Oxfam. Dexter says, I'm rolling out in August, September an online video training program to help salespeople sell more through their presentations. So is Facebook or LinkedIn the place for me?
What was, sorry, say the target audience again?
So his target audience is to help salespeople sell more through their presentations.
And you could probably do both, to be fair, because LinkedIn would be, I always say, if you can get away with it on Facebook and Instagram, you should, because it's a lot cheaper. So what we did with Raphael's healthcare professionals is we said, let's try it on Facebook first. And if we can't reach them, but there's a lot of kind of B2B activity happening on Facebook and Instagram. And then if you also think about your audience, they're on Facebook. Your sales guys are definitely on Facebook. So we just need to find out how best to reach them. And also if you think about, so a good way to target them is you could target like famous salespeople and stuff like that, interests and stuff like that. So there'll be a way to kind of get them as well.
Fantastic. Great. Michelle, I saw that you are muted. Does that answer your question, Dexter?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just have a follow-up question to that?
Yeah. Okay.
You talk about video. There is an understanding that video is now the way to capture people's attention. Do you have a view on what the length of those videos should be?
Yes, I'm militant with my team about length of video. Shouldn't be over 15 seconds. Ideal 7 to 10. And it's the thing that I always say, if you can't tell your story in 15 seconds, it's not fit for social. So if you think about it, let's say I bought a billboard space and I wanted to put a giraffe in and the giraffe's head was being cut off. Giraffe isn't right for that billboard space. It needs to be something else. So you've got to make sure it fits it. Fits the purpose of it. I'm a nightmare for creatives because for you to put your brilliant creative idea into 15 seconds is very difficult. But you have to think about the attention span is so low when we're on social. People don't hang around that long. So you need to, I always say, catch attention really early, get your branding in 3 seconds and tell your story in that.
Wow.
Great.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. Michelle, I saw that you want to mute yourself.
Yeah, fantastic, Brian. Thank you very much. It's really informative. I've got lots of notes. I wanted to ask, why is it that when you do send a post out on, say, LinkedIn or social media, that people say, "Oh, I never saw that." Why have they shrunk the audience? I don't understand that.
So LinkedIn organic is actually is the best at the moment, but it's still very small percentage. It's basically because the platforms got real greedy real quick and they want you to pay for anything that happens. Oh. So they, rather than you putting out a post and getting 10 leads and you growing your business that way, all the platforms want you to need them basically. Right. It's hugely frustrating because about 5 years ago, so one of my clients, we spent 200 grand on a follower-like campaign and their followers are basically pointless. And thankfully, I don't have that client anymore, but I can imagine explaining where I spent that 200 grand back then would have been very different because you used to be able to build up a community and a following organically. But what Raphael's doing, but if you just change your mindset slightly though, what Raphael has done with your Facebook community though, that's the new organic. And that's where, because that's where you can actually get your message out via communities. And because so if you think about it from a platform perspective, Facebook want you to use this communities because it makes their data even stronger because I know I can target Raphael's group, and I've got a bunch of entrepreneurs, audience, community, so they'll keep the organic for that because it benefits them.
Right, so it's communities. The communities the way.
Facebook groups for the moment. You probably noticed it in your feed. All the posts I actually see nowadays are basically ads and activity that's happening in Facebook groups.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
I did have a follow-up question, but I've forgotten it. Come back to me. Oh, so so what you said about paying to play is definitely the way forward. You should put some money into a campaign of some sort.
If you want it, you have to. I just don't. Now again, I'm slightly biased because even by my title, I'm head of paid media. But for someone who started as a copywriter and writing tweets and stuff like that, I got into paid because I basically wanted people to read my stuff. So I then needed to pay for visibility, basically.
Yeah, and what's the minimum? I know I ask a lot of questions. What's the minimum that you could start? I suppose you're on a really tight budget. What's the minimum that you?
So if you think about it, so for Facebook, if you think about the average CPM, which is cost per 1,000 eyes, basically, is £5. So like I've run really successful campaigns with like £20 a day and stuff like that. So it kind of depends on, and it gets cheaper. The higher quality and learning you have, you know.
Okay.
There's a few variations in it, but like you'd want to be spending about 20 quid a day, I'd say, to even see something.
For what length of time?
Well, again, as long as you want it, because
okay, so that's the minimum you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, if you think about it, if you spend let's say £30 a day, but you make £1,000 a week from that.
Indeed. Yeah, exactly.
Stop anyway, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Sorry, I don't want to hog.
No,
someone else asked the question.
We have
Thank you.
We have time for. We have William who wants to ask a question.
Hi, Brian. Thank you so much for that. That was actually really, really interesting. I'm really glad this is being recorded. Are we able to watch it again afterwards? Because I want someone in my team to watch this.
It will be on our LinkedIn group.
Wicked, brill. I've got a kind of very direct question, I guess. We've just done some work for the Advertising Association, and we have worked out the carbon emissions across the whole of the advertising industry, of which you're in, which is why I'm quite keen to ask you this. We do some paid Google ads through our Green Element Academy online training, but do you think if a report like that's coming out for the advertising industry, do you think that is the right sort of medium that we should be looking at doing Google ads? Because it's a great way for us to be winning more work, because, you know, it's prestigious, it's a good quality report that's been written, and therefore we've got gravitas, but it's the exposure and the brand awareness that would be quite good to be able to use the Google ads for. Would that be the right way to go? Or
So Google Ads, so it's Google Ads and Face and social are kind of two different intents. So when you're typing into Google, you know what you want, basically. While social media, we're trying to persuade you more into doing it. What I think could be very cool for yourself is you can run a LinkedIn campaign targeting specific people in the industry, even seniority, and get them to download a white paper on LinkedIn.
Okay.
It's not cheap now, but
can you do that?
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah, I download. So if you look at my level, I'm senior in a global advertising agency. My biggest issue is measurement, basically. Getting measurement with big clients and stuff like that, because it's such a chaotic, like I'm the lead for Barbie and Mia across 5 markets. So it can be very chaotic. For France might have different results to UK and stuff like that. So I get targeted by loads of different software ads, and I'll download white papers to see if they've got a solution for me. But you could also, again, depending on your audience, everyone's audience is on Facebook as well. So there's a way to kind of find them there as well. And you can download white papers directly from there as well.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Costas who has, I think we have time for one more question, because then it's 11 o'clock.
It's going to be very quick. I mean, thank you very much, everyone, for asking such great questions. Is it what sells better online? Is it digital products? Is it memberships? Or actually the funnels to bring people for a call and then bring them into the coaching or physical services? What gives you more return of investment?
Yes, it's totally based. It's a direct question that I'm going to give you an indirect answer for. It's totally based on purchase value, right? So by data, if you're to sell something for, I think, under £30, people are happy to buy that in one space. Between 50 and 150, they might need more ads and a longer funnel. Depending on the price of membership as well, you can get them. Like I joined my gym basically, just signing up for that because it's like, I think it's like 10 quid a month. But I joined a video editing software where I'm paying 35 quid, but that's a month. And I wanted a demo to have it. And then I've got another client who sells mobility scooters for really elderly people, and they're about 400, 500 quid. You need to, how their metric is you need to book a call and have a demo with them. So it's kind of like, it depends on, like, if you had a product, like, so I, in my spare time, test and sell products. I sold loads of Donald Trump toilet brushes back in May. And I was able to do that because they were only still overpriced. They were only $15 and a gag. So because you can see that ad and go, yeah, I'll just buy that and it'll be a funny present for somebody. The funnel is that much slower. So it's basically all done on price and intent. And you can always get that information off your salespeople as well, or your sales process anyway.
Thank you. Cheers.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you. Brian, if you can share your contact details there on the chat so people can contact you. So either LinkedIn or email. I'm going to close the chat because I am recording. So I don't want your information being shared like that. So I hope you enjoyed it this morning. I think it was great. It's one thing that we plan to do. So two exciting things that I want to share with everyone is that you have probably received an email from me introducing to your PR guide, as we call them now, because it's called Guided PR. You will see the platform is now live again. And we have a group of PR assistant trainees that will be contacting you to help you to get more features. You will see the platform very soon. There is a button which is called content creation or content platform, I can't remember exactly, where you will be able to go into a new platform. It's exactly the same, but if you click, it goes into something else, and it will teach you to create content. It's a step-by-step guide, and there will be options there for you to create a blog post or to create content for a video or create a LinkedIn post. And the idea is that the more you learn to structure your expertise, the easier it is for you to share with journalists. Because when journalists request, you saw in the platform, send me top tips on this, send me 200 words on that. And a lot of people get stuck and then they don't know what to write. And the idea is we decided to break it down into different ways of content. You will see that you will write a Instagram post and it will say the maximum number of words is 100. So what we are doing is we are challenging you on how you can structure your expertise and start to become more laser focused on what to write and what to share. Okay, I'm very excited. You will see that is last night I went to bed at 1:30 because I was going through the contact details that we got. We have now Fast Company, Entrepreneur.com, Inc.com. I could, if I had a firework, I'm in the countryside. I can blow fireworks. There are too many dogs around, but I was on fire. So you will be contacted soon. And we are going to do two things. So when we have the webinars now, we're going to have more and more professionals come and talk because we want to replicate what we had as events. So we will always have a professional come to help you share their expertise, and you can contact them. And I will start a podcast called Juno Talks, where I will interview journalists so you understand what they're looking for, how you send your comments, what kind of questions journalists will be asking. So you will see that there's lots coming up. So I'm excited about that. Okay. I hope you enjoyed it, everyone. We had 16 people live today. Was at our best. Thank you so much, Brian, for being with us this morning, and thanks for helping us with everything. And you will receive my email, so take a look. Okay, so for the next webinar that we're going to run next week. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day, everyone, and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Brilliant work, Raphael. Excellent.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Brian. Bye.